Hi everyone, welcome to the Treehouse Studio. I'm Linda Riesenberg-Fissler, and we're going to work on, if you tuned into the podcast, if you tuned into Art Chat, we're going to work on gesture paintings. So this is one. We had a special guest. Sorry, dropping my paintbrushes. We had a special guest on Art Chat that talked about, I need that one, that talked about her dancing, and Sherry was there as well, my co-host Sherry Dawn Haas, and it's good to me, I think I got enough brushes out now. So we talked about dance and music and movement and painting, gestures and things like that. So anyway, in the Art Chat, we talked about gestures and dance and how to capture dance in paintings, or how to capture gestures in painting, and how to apply gestures to landscape paintings. Like the way a tree branch is hanging, for example. Why do they call them weeping willows, for another example? So if you've been with me and been following me on my page, on my Facebook account, you know that I've been drawing Joanna Pang Atkins and different gestures, different dance gestures. So I transferred one of them to this drawing here, that's on here, that you may or may not be able to see very well because it's in pencil and it's done pretty lightly. So I have some ideas with what I wanted to do with this one. So I'll go over real quick what my palette is. So I have these guys laying out, and I have the reference photo. This is when Joanna was painting, or was dancing, was dancing with Luigi, who very famous dance choreographer, and this was in his studio, and I just loved the motion, the gesture of her and her body and so forth. So the photo itself is in black and white, but I know that and have seen Joanna in red and in black, and I like those two colors on her. So I was going to do something with red and black in this painting, trying to evoke some flow, or some, the fact that she isn't just standing still in this pose in the painting. I want to try to get some movement into it. So the colors that I've chosen are naturally Michael Harding oil paints, handmade oil paints. And we have the Ivory Black number 129 series 1. Titanium White 2, which is the 102 series 1. I have the Ultramarine Blue, which I put back in my cupboard. And I did the alizarin too, so let me grab these two out. So I have Ultramarine Blue, number 113, Series 1. I have the Alizarin Crimson, Series 302, number 302, Series 3. Okay. And those back. And I have three variations of, I also had cadmium yellow on there, but I just saved that from another palette, so I doubt I'll be using it, but if I do, I'll let you know. I also have the Rose Madder, which is number 408, Series 4. It's a very translucent paint, so I'll probably be playing with that more in glazes later, but I just wanted to put some out so that I can see what happens with it. Cadmium Red Light, number 503, Series 5. And I put some of the Venetian Red, which is number 122, Series 1. So you can see the color of it there. Okay. First thing that I want to do is I don't want to lose this line and this line. So, mainly because that shows the movement. So what I want to do is just outline that with a brush. It's kind of a boundary, but just open my pan, and no, I'm not going to use that to thin the paint. I will get out probably some linseed oil or walnut oil, one of the two, to thin it down. Michael's finally convinced me that thinning it with turpentine isn't a good thing. Ruins basically all your materials. So, dipping the brush into black, and like I said, I don't want to lose these lines. So I'm just using a small brush and loading it with paint. And making this one a very hard edge. And since I'll be working wet into wet, you know, that line may not stay there throughout it, but I can still create a hard edge with it. I just want to make sure that I preserve this shape. As well as the total line. And then I want to put some I want to put in the windows behind her. As well. But those won't, the background will not be defined very well. It'll provide a light source. She's backlit. But I'll be playing around with that as well. So, you know, not really thinking about a moment in time like a photograph depicts or a, you know, painting depicts. What I want to try and do is make it feel like it's movement. If you have any questions, feel free to type them out. I'll try and answer them. So, like I said, just finishing up with the two lines. I have this vision of what I really want this to do. We'll see if I can get it there. Taught my art student was in town, so she came over for lessons yesterday. Sold 2 paintings yesterday. One out of New Zealand, and I did a New Zealand plein air trim. I had the reference was done there. The actual painting was done in my, whew, that scared me. You know, one of these days I'm going to get rid of this old easel and use one of my new ones. It's like, whoa. Okay. It just breaks my heart to try to paint with a new easel because I'll get it dirty and I don't want to. So, they look so clean now. Basically, when I did this line drawing, it was basically pointing out to me where I wanted the lines to basically become hard edges in the painting so that I could stop the eye and let them enjoy this movement that Joanna was caught with. So this is the third time that I've drawn this figure. And did it in the sketchbooks and drew it in my mind a couple times. Hi, Jim. Welcome in. So we're getting close to just outlining her here on the canvas. Then I'm going to go back and you'll see me plan out where I want the window placement that's behind her. That's providing the source of light. I will not outline the features on her face. I was actually playing with not having that in there. not putting in the mouth and the nose and the eyes. Mainly just because that's too wet. Just because I like the idea of it being faceless. Baby wipe out so that I don't end up putting that black everywhere I don't want it, since I just put my hand in there. All the things that happens when we paint. There we go. I already get a feel of a little bit of the movement from her hair. I did it again. Wet paint. I have to keep telling myself I'm holding a brush and not a pencil. So. Okay. Almost there. smudge, so I'm just using a cloud that basically kitties must be into something. I don't want this line to connect to her, so that's why I'm not drawing it all the way down. I don't want to create a tangent there. Basically, I'm just finishing up some of the drawing with this small brush, and then I'll go into a bigger brush and start actual fun painting. And who knows, I may even get my palette knives out. Typically, when I start to paint, I paint with a, it's going to be too much. Paint with a value study underneath, but I'm really not going to worry too much about that. I have an idea of what I want to do. So this bottom line here, this basically becomes my horizon line, if you will. This is where the window ends. This is where the back wall is. This ends up being the ceiling, and this ends up being the dance floor that goes back to her. Okay. It's a nifty little trick of putting straight lines in your painting with these putty knives. I have to give credit where credit is due. I learned that one from Joe McGurl, so thank you, Joe. So, and it's not exactly straight, but it's okay. I didn't want it that way. The other lines are on with actually the one that maps out the thirds. That was, I just used marker, one of the Sharpie markers that have a tip, very fine tip on it, because I didn't want to lose those when I was erasing and just drawing with charcoal or graphite her actual figure. So if I go back to the reference photo, which is terribly printed on our printer, but you can see it, like I said, it's a black and white photo. Bring it in a little bit closer. And there you can see Joanna with her face. And so her, she's very dark. She's very, it's backlit because you can see the light back here. I did not put these other two in, mainly because she looks very ballet, and so does she. And Joanna has this much more jazz fusion-ish look to her. So I liked that a lot better. So I'm not going to worry about this cross in the window and the window panes and all that. I just want that to be very light behind her. And you can see this is the darkest figure except for where her skin is, which is lighter. And that's probably where I'll end up, having some pinkish yellowish skin tone to them. So with oil paintings, you always paint dark to light. So I am going to put her this darkest area in with painting, but and make that my darkest dark. And like I said, I'm just going to be playing around. So I may not be talking much. And like I said, if you have questions when I step back to look at what I'm doing, I definitely will, look and see if you have any questions. So, okay. One thing I do want to do before I get started, I just want to catch the top of her fingers. Even though I'm not going to define each finger or each hand, I just want to put it so I know where it ends. Anymore, I hate using small brushes. So I should just use a bigger one like I always intend to do. Okay, now let's get to a bigger brush. I'm going to mix up a little bit of the black with just a touch of white. I don't want it to be, dark black. Take a little bit more and add a little bit more white to it to get two different grays, and you'll see why I'm going to do that. Why I'm going to have those two different grays, or two different blacks, however you want to say it. And since I'm playing with this and I'm playing with color, and not using a grayscale to actually paint with, I still need to think about shape and form. So for example, the light is behind her, which means that this area, when it hits that plane of where the light colors are coming in, I will want to lighten this area, so this particular line will be blended out a bit and form the cylinder, because we start to when we start painting, we learn to draw cylinders and cubes and spheres instead of circles, squares, and things like that. So I still want to form her. I still want her to have some kind of shape in the body and in the arms. So I have to think about where this window is throwing light forward and where that would hit on each of her appendages and body. So that's why I'm doing two different tones. That'll be very, very close in value, but where I will really emphasize where that light hits will be whatever colors I choose for this window area coming through. So what am I thinking about while I'm doing this? I'm thinking about, I actually have some jazz playing in my head. I turned some jazz on, but the problem with that is that Facebook will come in and shut me down. So I'm not going to do that. So I've got this, I keep thinking jazzy and the colors that would go with that, and Joanna's favorite colors and stuff like that. Okay, so I got my two values of black. I'll show you those here in a second. Okay, so you see here, trying to do it so that the light gives it a better, you really can't see the difference, but they're very close in values. If this is a 10, this is about a 9, okay, on the values. Let me clean up a little bit here. So get cleaned off. Down there. Got stuff everywhere. Hold on. Usually doesn't bother me, but running out of room on my table, I have to clean it up again. Okay, so here we go. Gonna get a bigger brush. Let's see what I threw in my tackle box. Noticed the other day that I had brushes in there. Probably all the brushes that I meant to see and find. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to use round. Nice size round. This is a Rosemary and Company brush. So is this one. I'll probably be using these two. Rosemary and Company. This is an ellipse. Pointed round. This is a ellipse, long, flat. So there's the two brushes that I'll be using. Bring them a little closer. There you go. I'm going to start with the long, flat. And I want to fill in her hair. Her hair really is not going to change all that much. Notice I didn't fill in this little area here. That's going to be some light coming through that area. You can see that her hair is taking the place of that hard edge on her arm. It's still providing a hard edge. I come back and end up painting these little ends a million times. So I also want to fill in this dark area here, which will also give her some shape with the dark area. Top of her head, more here. Always when you're painting with oils, darker to lighter. Never light to dark, because you will never get it dark enough again. May not be picking up the difference in color there. Let me slide this out a second. And there you can just see there's just a little bit that I'm outlining with a little bit lighter shade. I'll probably go lighter with that. And you'll see what I'm going to do when I get to the colors that I want. Okay. So I just picked up the round brush because I want to get cover more quickly. So just have a little hint of, no hard lines, a little hint of her facial features, which is just enough of what I want for that area. Want it to look painterly, want it to feel light and movement. Don't want any real hard line there. Hi, Joanna. You're watching yourself being painted, huh? Thanks for stopping in. So this is pretty much just the foundation. I have in my mind where I want this to go. So I'm doing a little bit of a value study in this area, but we're going to change the color here in a little bit. I should bring you, let's try this. I'm going to bring you, well, no, let's don't. I was going to try and bring you in on camera, and I thought, well, you might be sitting in your PJs, because that's what I really like to be doing, but so I won't do that. If you do have any questions, just go ahead and ask. Type them in, and I'll try to answer them. So it's a very sunny day here at the Treehouse Studio. I want these dark areas here to be kind of edgeless, if you will, just very muted. And when I come back with some color in there, that'll be a bit of a value change so that I can warm it or cool the color depending on where that is. So even just with this little bit of value and getting some shape in there. Hi, Maxine. Thank you for loving it. I appreciate it. So, I'm still, it's starting to feel like movement, more so than just the line. So think about that with, when you're painting with very strong lines, you're causing the eye to basically stop. So if we come in here, we're kind of bouncing back and forth between this dark line and this dark line right now, because that's kind of a boundary. Yeah, we're following her in, but this is, now this arm's taking us right up here. And as I was saying earlier, Jen, not sure when you came in, but I don't want to capture her features. I don't want to get so, typically in a portrait painting, people go to we're used to looking at each other in the eye. So people will go to the eyes, but I don't want people to stop there. So that's why I have this very shadowed thing going on with the eyes. And like if I put in something very, very dark, everybody's going to stop there. But if I just leave a hint that there's something there, we'll go, oh yeah, it's supposed to be their eyes. And they'll move along. Okay? And this is all about movement. All about movement. So, okay. Sorry, I didn't take my Claritin D this morning. I'm going to bring up this value just a little. I want the light to catch this hand, this top part of the hand. But I also don't want to be so drawn correct, if you will, that it catches every finger. I want it to feel like it's movement. So I'm taking all the edges away. When I come back with a darker color or a different color, you know, it'll cover over some of that. I'm going to use Joanna's dark hair here to actually form the arm. So again, you know, I'm trying to think of movement, trying to think of where this backlighting will end up getting and touching certain places on her arm. Where it will end up being. Jana, if you're still there, was your, I mean, you may not remember, but was your leotard black, your whole dance outfit? If you just type yes or no to let me know. It may not stay that way, but I'm just kind of curious because the picture was black and white, so. Sorry. When something grabs my eye, I always have to go back and play with it so I get the way I want it. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Joanna. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and put in this dark color, which is black right now, in case you can't see it. So I have two. I have a darker gray, like I said, which is about a step up from number 10 on the value scale, for example. And then I have this lighter gray, which is about a step down. I'm going to have some fun with this later when I start getting my reds out. So hang in there. You can see I'm not going to worry about her toes. I saw that your toes were on here. I'm not going to worry about the features of the fingers and the features of the face and the feature of the toes because, like I said, this is movement. I want it to be blurred a little bit so that you get that feel of her dance line, her stretched arm, and the beauty of that. So I'm not going to struggle over that, you know, oh my gosh, is the drawing exactly right in her face? And yeah, I was doing that when I was drawing just so that I could have an understanding of that, where the mouth was basically at, where light was catching it on her chin, things like that. But the more I played with that, the more I just liked the idea of having it blurred so it showed movement. And then, like I said, I'm going to have fun with some, since she's backlit, I'm going to have fun with colors in the back behind her, bringing it in to the figure so that we don't have, well, we have a strong line. The strong line won't necessarily be of value, but maybe of temperature of color. So we'll see if I can pull this off, but Just trying to, thinking cylinders and how a 3D cylinder might look, so so that we get some kind of definition on this, on her as she's dancing. So again, you're thinking in 3D, trying to make a 2D figure become 3D is very important as well, because you get more of the feeling of movement. As we, so this area right here, is basically a, we need to think of it as a cylinder, more or less. So with it being backlit, I want it to start feeling that roundness of the cylinder. That if you would paint a cylinder in 3D, making it the 2D into the 3D, you understand how light hits that roundness. This also gives you a guide of how her body is torqued while she's dancing. I wish I knew more about Luigi. I know more about Bob Fosse. We talked about that on the art chat, Joanna, but yeah, I really do know more about Fosse. So sorry I can't enlighten everybody on Luigi and his dance practices and stuff, so philosophies and all that good stuff. You guys can always go out and Google them. And since she is back with it, and I'm making the window back here and here, I'll decide with the colors that I'm going to be mixing up for the back part of this, just basically as a wash. I'll wash. I'll come back and decide if I'm going to keep this line here dark, or if I'm going to also round it. With oil paints, like I said before, you can always go lighter. It is harder to go darker. So, if in doubt, always paint dark, your darkest value, because you can always lighten it. I mean, you saw me doing this over here, doing that over here. So, always remember, with oil paints, darkest to lightest in values. Ooh. Like painting with my fingers all the way up there. I feel like I'm drawing again. If you haven't listened to the art chat where we talk about dance and gestures and music and a whole bunch of other cool stuff, I suggest you go out and do that. Joanna's on here, and she was talking about her dance days, and we talked about gestures with her and Sherry, sorry. So you can find it anywhere. If you Google, it will show up in the Google search. If you have Alexa, you can ask her to play the art chat with me. My name, Linda Riesenberg Fissler. So it's on Spotify, it's on Pandora, it's on iHeart, it's on Apple Podcasts. I mean, it's everywhere. And we have listeners from all around the world. And I think I was even surprised that this last one had some listens from as far as Africa away. So how cool is that? Australia. Got a couple people in Australia. Back in Australia. Yeah, I can speak. Down there that are listening. So, pretty cool. All right. Just want to try to see if maybe just ever so slim. All right, so I'm going to mix up a couple more colors here. I'm going to start thinking about some cool colors that I want coming through this window. So this is going to be my lightest light. This is going to be darker. And I may mix up something, a darker color for up here and then again on the floor, which I'm assuming is more, Joanna, if you're still watching, is the floor wood, like a hardwood floor, or is it more like a padded floor? Can't really tell from the picture, other than it's shiny. So. Okay, hold on one second, I'm going to get a drink of water, guys. Okay, so mixing colors. So I'm going to take, again, show you this real quick. So here are the reds that I'm going to be working with. So alizarin crimson, red cadmium light, rose madder, and red Venetian. Or Venetian red, sorry. 4 is what I thought it was. Mainly because I don't think you guys want to, back then, they probably didn't have the foamy stuff that they have in workout studios these days. But I was always thought that wood would be the best thing. So, okay, so I also have cadmium yellow, and I think I'm going to mix up some cadmium yellow with some white. And I'm going to put a touch of the Venetian in there, because I usually like the reaction of the two of those paints together. Again, I'm using Michael Harding's handmade oil paints. Adding some white. Put it up here just so I can see. Okay. Cool. That's one value of that I want. So now I'm taking some of the red cad light. I'm going to mix in a little bit of the rose madder with it. The cadmium red light is a opaque color, and the rose madder is a transparent color. So that should give us a little bit lighter in value red than I'm looking for. So the red, cadmium red, is going to overpower it. So that's just with a little touch of the rose madder in there. I'm going to put a little bit more. I do want it to be a little more transparent. Put a touch of the alizarin in, which is also transparent. So kind of got this color. So it's not, you know, that's, let's see if I can. This is red cadmium light without anything mixed in. You can see how powerful Michael's pigments are. So I don't think you can see it coming closer now. So there you go. So it's, I don't want that, you know, shock value, at least at this stage, of the cadmium by itself. So I'll add some pure cadmium in at the end for highlights, but no, not. Of course, I have to ask Joanna this too. Joanna, if you're still there, I'm assuming that red is one of your favorite colors, so that's why I'm going to do some stuff with some red. I think I remember seeing you. Red looks good on you anyway, so that's why I'm going to do this in this color. So. Alizarin crimson. So now I have the Venetian red, some ultramarine blue, some of the alizarin, so I get more of a reddish brown tone that I will put down for the floor and come back and add in, where it's very, very shiny, some of the Venetian red and cadmium yellow together. Joanna said definitely red is her favorite color, so. Say hi to Joanna. What? Uh-oh, my technical director's here. Yeah, but I mean, you can play with it. You can hold it if you want, and then put it. I don't care. Show them whatever.
If you want to tilt it up so I see some more.
Well, I'm going to be working between here and here. My camera guy arrived. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is find my largest flat. I have to go into my cabinet here. Yeah, I know. Masks have really, I don't think I bought makeup now. Joanna was saying that Red was her favorite color. And she said even if she doesn't put her makeup on, she always puts on her red lipstick. And I said, well, she says not so much now because of masks. And I used to put on full makeup as well. And I haven't done it lately because it just gets all over the mask and just doesn't seem to work. You hear me digging through all of my brushes over here. Alright, I think I'm going to use, I don't think I need one that big. I could get out the house painting one, but we're not going to do that. So this is a Kelvin, and it's a filbert. So it will be giving me, it's from Raphael, and it should be giving me some really nice, it's a 16, some really nice brush stroke work that I want to do with this. I got paint all over my hands. So, all right, so again, the window edge is right here. I don't want to take that window edge all the way down with a really, really dark edge because I don't want it to stop there. So you may not be able to see down here, but I just want to put a little bit of this dark color underneath her foot here. And the reason why I'm doing that is to ground her, so it feels like it's grounded. You know, with each little thing we do to this, she really starts to feel like it's movement. So I just love that so much. So I'm going to go completely opposite of what I told you guys now. And now I'm just more interested in covering some canvas with some light. And you can see I didn't really clean my brush very well because I got some of that color down and going on in here, and that's okay. That's okay. It's going to be so muted back there. Of course, it would help if I quit using the baby wipe to wipe my brush with and start using a paper towel. You know, there's going to be a lot of colors that's going to be going on back there. I'll come back with a long flat and get closer to her arm movement there. Hi everyone. So after I went off the air from the live painting that you all have been watching and listening to, I stepped back and really looked at the painting, and it wasn't where I wanted to go with it. So as you can see, I got rid of all of the background that was behind Joanna in the dance studio, which I don't find very interesting, but this is one of those things where you're the editor of your painting, and I know in my mind where I wanted to go with this, and that wasn't it. So after I went off the air, I just kind of mushed mushed everything together, blended everything together, and got some really cool movement lines in there, as you can see from the photo above. And I really like where this is starting to go now, and I will probably go live sometime next week to play with this some more. Again, if you listen to the art chat, or if you join the art chat community, which I will hope you really do, that's a Facebook community, so you have to be on Facebook. You have to find me on Facebook because it's a private, closed group, and I can invite you, or Sherry Dawn Haas can invite you. We're the two admins for that private closed group, and the reason why it's private and closed is so that we can feel protected and safe. No politics, nothing like that goes on in there. It is just a way of encouraging one another to be creative. So, which is basically what I'm all about, so, and what Sherry's all about too, because she does a wonderful job staying in creative shape or space. So anyway, I just wanted to tune back in and put this on the back of the clip so that you could see where it ended up before we start the next live session, which hopefully will be next week, probably around the 27th, 28th, or March 1st, somewhere in there. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed watching the painting process. Like again, this is so different for me to paint this style, but I like challenges, and I like presenting them to me and seeing if I can grow into something a bit different. So hopefully you'll tune in and see where this goes before. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time. Don't forget, Art Chat can be found on Spotify, Pandora, Alexa, iHeart, basically anywhere. Just go ahead and Google Art Chat with Linda, and you'll probably find it. So thanks, everybody. Have a good time. Enjoy. Later. Bye.